Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Facebook Live Balance Your Productivity session. And hello to you who are watching live. David, it's good to see you. Thank you for the comments. And yes, if you're watching live, that's great. Chip in and ask some questions as we go along. I'll try and keep half an eye on that while I'm talking to you and answer those as we go along if I can. Otherwise, if you have any comments after the session or questions you would like to ask, then please do so in the comments and I will get back to you on that. I'm here every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. on my Facebook group. And in this session, I wanted to touch on something. I have covered it briefly before, but again, it's actually come up quite a bit this week because I've been out and about attending workshops, running a workshop and giving talks. So the topic of turning up on time has become fairly important. It's something that obviously as a time management coach, I need to turn up on time and I need to get to places mainly before everybody else does. And it's very rare that I am late, but it does happen. It happens to all of us. And it's why when I'm planning to go somewhere, I always plan to arrive early and sometimes very early, particularly if I'm going anywhere that involves the M25 or public transport, then I will aim to get to where I need to be with at least 30 minutes, or if it's a longer distance that I'm going, an hour in hand. So if something does come up and I do get delayed, I will still arrive on time, or I'm not going to be that late, rather than aiming to be there for a set time. So one of the workshops that I ran yesterday, actually, I got there. I wasn't quite sure of the travel time. It wasn't somewhere that I'd been before. You never know what the traffic is going to be like. It was within that morning rush hour time slot. So I left plenty of time and I got there 30 minutes early, or 35, 40 minutes only actually. But that gave me plenty of time to go and find out where the room was, get set up, make sure everything was working, laid out, attend to a few issues that there wasn't the equipment there that was needed, ask the relevant questions of the place and meeting rooms I was in, and get set up before all of the attendees turned up, without the stress of getting in just in time and then having to get set up and people are coming into the room while you're trying to get set up. You can be more relaxed and calm if you arrive early. So I know this is something that is key for quite a few people as one of the attendees, and it always happens when I'm running a workshop, is people do turn up late. So if you are someone that is always late, then here are a few tips and ideas to help you arrive on time. And hi Tish, and yeah, thank you for your comment, David. And again, that's a very good thing, that is that even if you don't particularly want to get there early because you feel it's wasting time, if you do get somewhere early, you can sit and relax and have a cup of coffee and catch up on maybe even emails. So being late for or missing an appointment, late for a meeting, missing an appointment, isn't just an indicator that you're not good at managing your time, but it also shows a certain level of lack of respect for the other people that you are potentially going to be meeting. They've made time for you in their day, they've hopefully turned up on time, and they may even have altered or moved around appointments in order to fit you into that time. So it shows a level of respect if you actually are able to turn up on time, and respecting both your time and theirs by doing so. So if you're someone that is always, and I know there are lots of people out there who are always there either just in time for a meeting, or they turn up hang on 9 o'clock as everyone is settling down, there's always that settling down time, getting ready. So even if you have a 9 o'clock meeting, it's probably going to take a few minutes. So it's a much better use of time if you can actually turn up early, get settled in so that you can start when you need to. And if you're going to be late or you can't make it or something's come up, then do let people know and give them as much notice as possible, especially if it's something that's been set in advance. And there are many common reasons for missing meetings and appointments. And again, had an incident yesterday. Somebody had forgotten a meeting because they hadn't put it into their calendar, which is a classic thing. Not putting those meetings into your diary, you sort of think you're going to remember it, but you don't. So make sure that you write things down and put them in your calendar, and if necessary, set yourself a reminder. Most calendaring systems will have reminder settings in there, so it will automatically remind you 15 minutes, 30 minutes a day before. So use those to help remind yourself of up and coming meetings. And you can usually have several meetings set for one event. So if you have a tendency to forget, or that you don't look too far ahead, you might even want to have one for a meeting a week before, reminder a week before, and then perhaps a day before, and then giving yourself enough time to leave another meeting reminder for that meeting. Something else is not leaving yourself enough time to get to the meeting. We tend to think about the being there for the start of the meeting and when you need to leave, but you need to take into account the additional, for instance, if I'm sort of going somewhere, the getting out of the house time. So thinking, right, I'm going to leave the house at 8:30 to get somewhere for a 9 o'clock meeting. It's probably going to take a few minutes to actually get out of the house, get everything together, get into the car before you even start the engine or walking to the bus stop and getting a train. So you need those extra minutes at the beginning. And then there's the travel time, however long that might take. And then when you get to where you need to be, finding somewhere to park or getting to the event and then finding the right room to go to. And that takes up a little time. So if you've literally left that time slot of start to finish and you haven't taken into account the 10-15 minutes either end, you are going to end up being late. The other thing, which is getting slightly easier now that we have things like Google Maps and GPS, is not knowing where you're going, because if you're not quite sure, again, that can take a little bit of time to find your way around. You might end up in the wrong place and have to go somewhere else. That inevitably happens. So give yourself the additional time in case that happens. And Tish just saying, I'd like to leave an hour before I actually have to. Yes, definitely. And I think that's another good, almost a sort of countdown process, is if you have an intention to leave at a certain time, give yourself that slack, because inevitably, especially if you're in the middle of something at work, it takes that little bit of time to wind down, to finish something off, to put something away. And we might sort of think, oh, I'll just finish this email, and then that takes longer, or making a quick phone call, or you're on a phone call. And there's that sort of faff time between finishing one thing and starting or leaving to go off for a meeting or an appointment. So take that into account as well. If somebody cancels on you, sometimes it can be a good thing, because you suddenly find that you have extra time available. So see that as a benefit in some respects, that you've now got some time back, and make the most of it. And also think about what a missed appointment means to you, either a sort of cancellation or someone else doing it to you. Is it the inconvenience, the frustration, and the time that you've wasted? How much do you tend to be late? Is it only occasionally? Is it something that is a pattern of behaviour that you have? And how does it impact your business when people don't turn up? Think about sort of the cost of potential no-shows. Again, it's something that I see very often, and particularly when I've been running workshops, and whether they've been paid workshops or within organisations, and many events that I've been to, there are always people who just don't turn up for whatever reason. It's annoying, it's an inconvenience, and sometimes there is an impact, and often that's financial to the group or the person that's organising the meeting. And if people just sort of show up for no apparent reason without having let you know, then again, that shows a sort of a lack of respect. And I think people will respect you more if you sort of say, look, I'm really sorry, something's come up. And particularly people that have families, there might be something that comes up with the kids at school, or illness. So inevitably there is that. And by the very nature of the work that I do, around time management, productivity, there are inevitably clients who either don't show up or there's a last minute change of plan. And I know life happens, and I'm prepared for that. Fortunately, they're getting better and better, and it happens less and less these days. But yeah, it does happen. And as I said, life happens. And sometimes it is unavoidable. So if it's something that you either suffer from or you're aware is a pattern, think about, have you booked the time out in the diary? You need to take the person that you're booking a meeting with, or when you have a no-show, you've taken time out to prepare for the meeting and the event and put things together. So you might wait a few minutes to see if somebody does turn up, but if they don't, then you need to get on with something else. So you need to think of it from both sides of both points of view as well, both you, if you're not turning up for a meeting, and what impact that has on the person who you're not showing up for. You might find out what's happened. You might get an apology. Sometimes I'll get a quick email saying, oh, I'm really, really sorry I couldn't make it. This has come up, that's come up. At least if I know, then I can just get on and do something else, and I haven't totally wasted that time wondering where they are. If you are someone that is often late or has to cancel at the last minute, which again can be a pattern of behaviour, think about whether you have overcommitted yourself. Are you taking on too much? Are you saying yes to certain meetings and events when really you should be saying no in the first place, rather than sort of saying, oh, I might be able to go to that, I'll say yes, and then finding that either you forget that you said yes to it, so therefore don't show up, or that actually you don't have the time for it. So that's about being able to prioritize your time better and be more realistic about what you're committing to. And I think particularly with meetings, a lot of business meetings, whether they might be events, is not overcommitting to those by perhaps saying you will only go to, depending on the type of event, one a week, one a month, one a quarter. So you're not spending too much time at those and then finding that you've got too many on at the same time. If you feel guilty or embarrassed by the fact that you're doing this, then take that step back and look at what the reasons and the excuses are that you make, and what can you do to change that pattern of behaviour to reduce the amount of time that you turn up for those meetings, so that A, you're not wasting your time, you're not getting stressed out by being the person that cancels, and also you're then not having that impact on the person that you're cancelling on or who is missing the meeting, and you're not wasting any more of their time. So it's about showing respect for everybody's time, and also the time of the other people that are in the meeting. They've all turned up, they're all there, there's a cost impact of that, and being able to respect their time and not waste so much of your time. So think ahead about whether you can really commit the time to the meeting, and if it is something that you're going to do, how you plan by working backwards and building in that additional time so that you get there early, which means that you will always be there on time. So if you want to make some changes to that and you want some more sort of tips or practical solutions of how to put it in place for you and how you can really start to work that through, then do please get in touch. And if you want to just check it out, because it is one of the questions on the time quiz, then take the time quiz, which is on my website. Otherwise, get in touch, and I'm always happy to help. So good to see you, good to hear from you, and do pop something in the comments if you have any questions to ask, or if there are any topics that you would like me to cover in future sessions. So until next week, stay productive.